Hello, welcome back. So today I wanted to kind of go through an actual PMax article, so Performance Max, and kind of see what other companies, what other blogs are talking about best practices. Since I'm actually working on one of my kind of reports or guides going through Performance Max and what all the different things I've seen, what data I've collected, and what I've seen my best accounts do, and other advertisers as well, talking to other industry leaders, kind of getting their feedback as well. So that's going to be coming out pretty soon. I'm very excited to release it since I haven't really seen too many other guides, manuals, stuff like that for PMax. So that's definitely coming out, and I'll let you know when it does. But today, I wanted to go through a MarTech article. I'm not sure if you heard of this. It's martech.org. It's a pretty nice marketing blog as a whole. And I kind of want to go through their latest blog talking about how to control Performance Max campaigns and just some tips that they've done. So let's go through it, and I'll give you my takeaways on what they've recommended, if I have any different thoughts or stuff to add to their suggestion as well. So let's go through it. Overall, the big thing is they first started off with talking about how this is the most automated campaign type. And I kind of agree with that. I think smart shopping was the most automated, kind of the most black box you could possibly have. I do think when advertisers or marketing people talk about PMax and how it's, just another smart shopping type or so much automation, so much black box we have no idea about, this is a big step up in my opinion. And talking to other advertisers, we get way more data back through Performance Max campaigns compared to smart shopping. Smart shopping was literally a black box. You could only control pretty much through the data feed, maybe an ad creative, but those only showed like 1% of the time, and the bidding strategies. Other than that, you had no idea or indication what was really happening. Unlike Performance Max, where we get so much data coming back through the Insights tab, also through the Asset Level tab, and creating just the audiences we can have. So a lot more control that way. So overall, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, we should be thanking Google that we're getting this much data back. I don't know if we'll ever get like the asset group performance, kind of like how we can see ad groups and other campaign types. I would love to kind of see asset group breaking down by asset group and kind of the data, like, okay, conversions, spend, overall everything from that point of view. I talked to some Google reps and they say it's coming, but then I've talked to some other past Google reps who say that's never coming. So very interested to see how that kind of comes out from now, but excited to see if we can actually get that data. Overall though, talking about Fred Valles, excellent advertiser, and he runs one of the largest PPC softwares. I'm sure you've heard of him. Overall though, his main 3 tips coming from this book, On Leveling the Playing Field. Great book if you're into Google Ads and kind of hearing what very top of the people say. Recommend you reading it. Very good. Overall though, he's saying set correct targets that are related to business goals. Yes, for sure, you want to make sure your conversion goals and your campaign goals are very aligned. That is probably the biggest thing you have to do, but it's also a very basic thing, so just take that with a grain of salt. You should probably know that already. Feed more timely and more detailed conversion information into the Google AI. I also believe that as well. Main thing, conversions are going to be the biggest kind of thing going forward, since you don't have too much control into how the system is reading it. Just note for Performance Max with listing groups, so for retail clients, you're going to see all conversions, so you want to make sure you have only one true conversion action set, or you can have, say your purchase as a primary and then add to cart as a primary as well. Just make sure you're not tracking any value, so at least you can see your values correctly in your ROAS and your stuff like that. But I highly recommend just only have purchases in your main conversion action, just so PMax doesn't track purchases, added carts, page views, time on site, all that kind of stuff that you could possibly have as a secondary conversion, because it will be in that all conversions tab. So again, make sure you do that properly. And then optimize the structured data and feeds that Google uses to generate creatives and match ads to queries. So again, very good tip. You want to make sure your overall technical SEO and site structure is very well thought out and planned well. It helps if you've been going for technical SEO for a while now or trying to improve your SEO. Google's going to use that a lot better. Make sure it's also updated through Google Search Console by submitting your site indexing as well. That's very needed. And I would very much recommend to at least test PMax first, like some DSA campaigns, dynamic search ad campaigns, and just see what Google gets back, since they're going to be crawling the site and creating headlines and everything like that from your site as well. Make sure Google at least knows where your site is, what your products are, who it's for. If DSA is not very relevant, chances are your search in PMax will not be as relevant either. So very first thing there. Overall, automation needs space to learn. This is from Qasim Aslam, actually my old boss, great guy, great agency. Highly recommend them as well. Definitely that the old adage of like 60, 90 days just for testing Still applies in a lot of senses, but at the same time, with Google wanting 4 to 6 weeks, so basically about 45 days of just straight up campaign testing for that campaign as a whole for that account, pretty much, and he said this as well, Cosm did, day 46 is day one now. So you have 45 days of pure testing, and then you have another 2 to 3 months of testing as well that you can actually start optimizing, try to add more asset groups, products. You can kind of play with the campaign more, but until then, you need a lot of space to learn, and you also need a lot of kind of thinking this campaign is more investing in the account itself for future performance and not so much a clear one-to-one ROI, whatever that you need in that first 2 to 3 month timeline. So be prepared to wait and wait it out. And again, this is kind of the same thing, just having clear expectations for how long it will take to either become profitable or at least a one-to-one kind of performance. I do think most accounts are seeing kind of the same performance in Smart Shopping and PMax. I've seen some clients have way better performance, but I'd say most likely like 60 to 8% of the time, it's pretty much the same performance or a little bit better, a little bit worse. Nothing huge in terms of like, oh, I was getting a 1x on Smart Shopping, I'm going to be profitable, I'm getting a 5 on PMax. Now I would normally say it's in that kind of a very small delta overall. That's that. And yes, okay, creative assets make or break your campaign. Highly agree with this. I do think this is a huge step forward in Google's push to become more of a visual platform. If you notice, post marketing conference in 2020 or in May 2022, they were talking a little bit how more visual they want the search results to be. And I don't know about you, but I'm just seeing, one, my image extensions are showing way more often, and two, if you just go test this yourself, when you go look up at Google search, look at how many positions have somewhat of a visual element in it. I would say it's I would notice probably 75% of all listings have somewhat of a visual element. If not ad-wise, it's also organic-wise. They're pushing visual very heavily. So you also want to make sure your visuals are very well thought out. And if you have your asset group talking about product A or audience A or avatar A, make sure those assets are also talking about whoever you're targeting. I think the worst thing you can do is just have very generalized assets. That's not the best way to use the system. If you have so much campaign data in this account, and your Google really knows your products inside and out, your audiences, that may not be true. Because one of my clients, they spend about $2 to $3 grand a day in PMax. Kind of, I think we're at like 2,500 right now, and we only had one asset group in very generalized copy, but it worked because their products were at the price point that we could have that. However, for most of your AOVs, you need to be a lot more profitable in a lot shorter time span. So I would highly recommend you being as segmented as possible with who you're targeting, what the ad copy is, what the products are, and what the creatives are. I think the more detailed, the more matching everything is, just as Google's goal always has been, of relevance and how you can match a search query to your ad copy, to the landing page on the site and your products or the services you're offering. You need to take that one step further now and actually start making better creatives and more of a Facebook approach with having great creatives that match the products or the services that you're trying to offer. Not just so much generalized brand nonsense anymore. I think that's kind of going away. Overall, flexibility with structure. I do think this is kind of true if you use it properly. Like, you can definitely have PMax in a different, every account is not the same. Like, it's not Smart Shopping. We kind of have like, okay, we can have one campaign, or we can break them up by some collections, maybe a profit margin. Those are the same kind of lines that I recommend with Performance Max. Honestly, you kind of, the main ones are one campaign, just break it out by audience type or product type. Then you have your profit margin, so high, medium, and low, or you have by collection if you want to test it out. So far, I've seen the best going with like one overall campaign or a profit margin campaign. Collections work well when they do, but when they don't, they work awful, and they're very hard. You can get like a 1x return sometimes. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it just depends on if your products are around the same audience from a store, and Google doesn't know what separates audience from products, so it doesn't really know what campaigns to show. That could be it. However, you can do a lot of different things with PMax in terms of the targeting aspect. So you have a whole Performance Max campaign talking about competitors and why you're better, and target those keyword customer intent audience and stuff like that. That's another type of competitors. You could go all in on just certain search phrases and go beyond that. There's a lot more flexibility in terms of structuring PMax in your overall account, and I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't talk about yet. I think that's also something we're trying to still figure out as a community, like what are the best practices of setting up a campaign as the private campaign, and then maybe some supplementary campaigns, or if we can create like a hierarchy of Performance Max campaigns and try to split that across. However, that's a little tough on the retail side because you cannot really share products that well across campaigns. It just doesn't work out that well. So that's that. Then some final stuff here. Marketing objectives and goals. Again, yes, that really is. You need to make sure your campaigns conversions are properly set up in either the back end or on the campaign level itself. But remember, all conversions are still being tracked. And then campaign budgets. Yes, I don't know. Of course, budget. I mean, most of the time, PMAX should be your top campaign, depending on if you've been killing it on search or YouTube or shopping and stuff like that on the standard side. However, that's going to vary depending on the goal. Geo-targeting, overall, again, yes, they don't work here, so that's fine. Feeds, yes, this is a big thing. I would say a little, probably the same importance as smart shopping. You want to make sure your feeds in the back end are properly good. Your titles and your short titles are the two main things I would recommend, and your creatives, those three things. And then make sure your Google product category, product type, and all the other secondary attributes are very well defined as well. Main thing are your titles, short titles, and creatives. Just make sure that's good. Audiences, these are now with audience signals. Again, remember, they're just signals, not actually targeting who you want to target. Just gives Google a good push in the right direction. And account negatives, this thing is more for brand keywords if you do not want your PMAX to go on your brand. However, that's another long conversation. Solutions 8 has a great video talking about that. It's a conversation you need to have with every client or yourself and kind of think about how you want PMAX to evolve. But brand is typically needed in a PMAX campaign, and it kind of helps you track the overall customer journey from a new prospect or a new customer through a paying customer. So overall, that's my take on this article. Pretty good. I probably agree with most of the things here, but at the same time, there are some things I disagree with. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and have a great day. Thank you.